Marhaban. Hello. My name is Ian Campbell, and I've been studying Arabic for 31 years and teaching it for 25. This is the second in a series of videos intended to teach you the Arabic alphabet and sound system and to prepare you to understand how to learn vocabulary words. In this lesson, we're going to learn two more letters of the alphabet, ta and waw, and a non-alphabetic character called dhamma. Note that in Arabic cultures, proper and elegant handwriting is more important than it is in American culture. In general, protocol and etiquette are more important in Arabic cultures. Taking the time to write well, and not just legibly, demonstrates respect for your readers. That's one reason why this series of videos is taking the alphabet very slowly, so you have the time to learn to have handwriting that will make native speakers think better of you. They're already going to think well of you because you're learning the language, but good handwriting will really help. Alright, let's begin with our letters. In this lesson, we're going to learn two letters. One of them is ta, which looks just like ba, except with two dots above instead of one dot below. The next one is called waw, and waw looks like this kind of giant number 9. It goes well below the line, and he makes the oo or w sound. And we're going to learn this non-alphabetic character called dhamma, which looks like a little miniature waw, and there's a reason for this, which I'll show you in just a moment. So ta here is a connecting letter. It connects to the next letter, like ba does. It looks just like ba, except for the dots. It makes a sound similar to English T, but not quite. You don't make a puff of air, this is called aspiration by linguists, when you say it. So what I want you to do is to take your hand and to put the palm of your hand a few inches in front of your mouth and say an English T 2 or 3 times. T, T, T. You can feel a little puff of air when you do this. So when we make the Arabic letter ta, what you need to do is make the T sound but without the puff of air. Ta, ta, ta. It's a little flatter sounding than an English T. This does take a little minute to get used to, so be careful about it. What you want to do is make sure when you're using the letter ta that you don't go t, t, and make that little puff of air like an English T. It'll be a little bit confusing to your non-native speaker friends if you do that. So when we make ta, we have to make the 2 dots, and if you saw, I did them slowly and still didn't get them quite right. So what most people do in handwriting is instead of making 2 dots above, they're going to make a dash as if it were connecting the 2 dots. This is a much more common way to write ta than with the 2 dots. Many people will make the 2 dots, but it's really hard to get them aligned right, especially if you're using something like a ballpoint pen. So I would highly recommend that you learn to make ta this way, with the 2 dots turned into a dash instead of as 2 dots by themselves. So this is how I'll be making it throughout this series of videos, and there are other letters that we do this with as well. So when ta is by itself, we're going to have 2 short little teeth with a long crescent between them, only this time the 2 dots are going to go above rather than the 1 dot below for ba. In the first position, it's going to be the same thing. Remember, ta, like ba, is a connecting letter. So we're only going to get 1 tooth, and we're going to put the 2 dots atop of that tooth. Same thing in the middle position. We're going to come from the previous letter, make a very small little tooth, just enough to let us know there's a letter here, and then put our 2 dots above it. And in the last position, we're going to do what we did with ba. We're going to come from the previous letter, but this time ta gets to stretch out and get both of his teeth, and we put the 2 dots in the middle between them, like this. So ta is really easy to draw because it's exactly like ba, except for the dots, or in this case, the dash. But the trick is in learning to pronounce it properly. You want to say ta, 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 and not ta, 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 like we would in English. So, whereas we can substitute B for ba, 1 for 1, we can't quite substitute T for ta. So just pay attention to that and learn to pronounce it right from the start. So let's look at our next letter, which is wow. Wow is the second to last letter in the alphabet. It's not letter number 4, although it's the 4th one we're learning. The reason we're going to learn it now is because it's a long vowel like aleph. So it's extremely useful, and that's why we're going to skip out of order to learn it. And we'll skip out of order and learn another one in the next lesson. So it is a non-connecting letter, and it has 2 values in Arabic. It makes the long oo sound. Sometimes you'll see this as a U with a macron on top of it, and sometimes you'll see this as double O, like in loop in English. It also makes the English W sound, like the W. And it seems confusing at first whether a wow is an oo or a w, and you'll learn that it's in fact not confusing at all. It's really easy to learn. So if we go down here, we know that wow is a non-connecting letter. So it never is the first in a string of letters, and it's never the middle in a string of letters. Sometimes it's the last one in the string of letters, and then we're just going to come up from the previous letter, and we're going to make our loop. Notice that this loop is a lot bigger than the tooth for the ta or the ba. The tooth for the ta or the ba only goes about 1/4 of the way up to the dashed line, but the loop for the wow goes almost all the way up to the dashed line. Again, letters have different heights in Arabic than they do in English, and we need to be conscious about making them properly, both because we want people to think well of us, and also because we want to make our letters correctly so we don't confuse people. When wow is a solo letter, it's just going to be this, basically an English letter, number 9, looped around like this. We might want to join it here and make it a little better like that. But either way, it's legible. So again, wow is a non-connecting letter. One of the biggest mistakes students will make right at first is they'll be like, okay, here's a ba, say, and I'm going to connect it to a wow, and then I'm going to want to put another ba after it. And because I think Arabic letters are cursive, I'm going to go up like this and make the ba, and have it come around this way, and walk away thinking, yeah, I did it. I linked my letters together. And, you know, you should be proud of yourself for trying. That's great. But wow is a non-connecting letter, so it doesn't do this. If we're going to write the word boob in Arabic, which doesn't mean boob in English, by the way, we're going to have to take our pen off the paper and make it like this instead. So be very careful when you make wow. It doesn't link to the next letter, just like aleph doesn't, and just like 22 out of the other 26 letters don't, or do, rather. So don't make your wow link to the next letter. That's a very key feature. Let's get rid of this, and let's get to our next character, who is not a letter of the alphabet, and his name is Dhamma. So notice I've used lowercase letters like T and W here to describe the letters, and now I'm going to use a capital letter. There's a reason for this, and I'll go into it later. Don't worry about it for right now. So Dhamma looks just like a little miniature wow, only above the dashed line in the same place as Fatha. And it bears the same relationship to wow that Fatha does to aleph. Wow is the long vowel, Dhamma is the short vowel. Just like aleph is the long vowel and Fatha is the short vowel. So it makes the short U sound, like put. Sometimes like father, that's probably not the best example, but sometimes like put, and sometimes a little closer to U like loop. So if we go down and we look at the cadence, this is where Dhamma and wow will really change up. We know that cadence is which syllables get stress, that is volume and duration, and which syllables don't. English is arbitrary, but Arabic is regular. Long vowels and double consonants, which we have not yet got to, get stress, and short vowels do not. So let's look at these examples I've got here. First, we have a ta and then a ba. And the ta only gets one tooth because he's a connecting letter, and the ba gets both teeth because he's the last letter in the series. And then here we have little dhamma up here. So this word is tub, not tub. tub, like we would say it in English, and puffing that piece of air out, aspirating it. No, we don't do that in Arabic. We say tub, tub. So it's not quite English T. You're doing the same thing with your mouth, lips, teeth, and tongue, but you're not making the puff of air in Arabic. So this is a short syllable, tub, tub. Here's the same syllable, only long, tub, tub. So the difference between dhamma, which is little and looks like a wow, and wow itself, which is a non-connecting letter of the alphabet, is the difference between the short and the long vowel, tub versus tube. Here's a two-syllable word. We have a short vowel in the first syllable, tu, and then a long syllable, boob. So we're going to give the long syllable stress and duration and not give either one of them to the short syllable. So tuboob, tuboob. Notice how the second syllable gets more volume and duration than the first. This is really basic and it's also really important. So please take the time to learn it right. Tuboob, tuboob. And then here we have three short syllables. Ta gets a tooth, ba gets a tooth, ta gets two teeth because he's the last one. Tabuta, tabuta, tabuta. Three short syllables. Notice that the last one gets to really stretch out here from the previous three. These three teeth should be tightly packed, and then this one, there's quite a bit of distance between it and the previous three. So let your letters stretch out. In fact, go ahead and exaggerate it if you want to. That's fine. Now here we have ta and then long vowel wow, and then we take our pen off the paper and make ba and then ta. So here, the long vowel is the first syllable, and the short vowel is the second one. Tulbut, tulbut, tulbut. The first syllable gets stress. Over here, the second syllable gets stress. Tuboob, tuboob. And then here we have two long syllables. Taboot, taboot. This is common in Arabic to have two long syllables in a word. So taboot is the only one that's an actual word here. This is the word for coffin or casket. So if you're feeling really goth today, learn that. Taboot, taboot. And then here we have long syllable, short syllable, long syllable. So ba taboot, ba taboot, ba taboot. This takes a little getting used to, but it isn't really that difficult to learn, and we're going to pick at it slowly and just make sure you see plenty of examples of how to put syllables together and which ones get stress and which ones do not. So here we are. We have now learned 4 letters of the alphabet, alif and ba in the previous lesson, and ta and wow in this one, and 2 non-alphabetic characters, fatha in the previous lesson, and dhamma in this one. So I am going to say ma salama. Goodbye, everybody.